today, but nonetheless, we're gonna try to get this back going again. I don't even remember where we left off. I think that we were tag team match: Darby Allin, Nick Wayne against Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Ange. Daddy Magic got a pretty big pop in Cincinnati. Don't know why, but it was cool. All right. Well, the podcast that left me again.
You disappeared on me.
No, you left.
No, you left.
I didn't do anything.
You did leave.
I didn't. Well, no. Once you hit lot, no, I did not leave. You left.
You left.
No, you did. Well, okay. You'll see what you'll watch this back. We're gonna wish that we had this episode back. Okay, that episode is 31 and a half. This is episode 32 of the Wrestling Junkies podcast.
Remember when you were like, "Oh, it's a great idea to go live."
Well, it still is. I still stand by that decision. Okay, I stand by that decision. Leave me alone. All right.
Thank you, everybody, for staying patient with us.
Yeah, we try. This is.
I told you this episode was cursed. I told you.
And I told you to get that nonsense out of your head, and yet here we are. So that's my bad.
Yeah, look what you did.
Whatever. Solid tag team match. Got it done. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Okay, I'm play-by-play your color. Those are your words.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah, this is this. Yeah, it's okay. Little fires everywhere. No big deal. Solid tag team match. Cool Hand Ange, Daddy Magic getting a weirdly receptive ovation. I mean, they're getting over, so good for them.
Everybody loves Daddy Magic.
I can see the appeal.
He's the Otis of that company. Everybody loves him. He's goofy. He's ridiculous. That's a guy that I like. You can get behind at being segments. Yeah. Can you imagine that dude with the Acclaimed? Yeah, it would be ridiculous.
Cool. Yeah,
scissor me, Daddy Magic. Boom.
There's a t-shirt. There's a t-shirt right there. There you go. We're gonna clip this. And we're gonna put that on social. You're welcome, Tony Khan. Yeah. So anyway, it works for him. Solid tag team outing. Nick Wayne. It was cool to see him in person. Kids got it. He'll be a star for sure.
Yeah, and then Christian cut. The Christian promo that we all wanted, and
whatever.
He ripped on the Bengals again because we're in Cincinnati. But another shot at Nick Wayne's mom too, which Christian's a menace as well. Him and Swerve, man, the top two heels of that company.
It's you gotta and I mean they do it in such different ways too, as far as what makes them evil, and it works. I like them. I like them a whole hell of a lot. Main event: Roderick Strong, Samoa Joe, finals of the Grand Slam World Title Eliminator Tournament. Try saying that 5 times really, really fast.
No thanks.
Joe wins by submission. Surprise.
Yeah, Joe. God, that guy is stiff. I mean, he was laying it in, and the chops that he was receiving was stiff. Good match. Good to see Samoa Joe. I think that's the first time I've seen Samoa Joe live. So I kind of check that off my bucket list. That was awesome. I finally get the chant, Joe's gonna kill you, and it was a great time all around.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a little disappointed because it looks like this might be a one-off with MJF for the world title. I think Samoa Joe he's such a good wrestler, and it's funny because it's going to be interesting to see the reaction, because he came out and he choked Adam Cole and everybody started chanting Joe. It's going to be interesting because they're in New York where MJF's going to get a huge pop, but Joe is he's a badass and you want to root for him.
He's over. He's money.
WWE just
they kind of fumbled on that one.
Swerve, Joe,
but maybe they're gonna make up for it soon.
Before we move on to that, I do want to talk, because the pictures are already out online.
Yeah.
The attendance was not great.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. Very, very surprised. I think that one number I read was about 1,500.
Yeah. They said it was the lowest pre-pandemic or lowest pre to the pandemic shows. So there was one in like March of 2020 when the pandemic had just kind of started. That obviously people started staying in their house, but this and it was about 1,000 less than the last time they came to Cincinnati, which is disappointing.
That last time, I mean, there was a pretty hefty line just to even get into the building, and we got there last night, and
nothing.
It was just kind of like, oh, I'm surprised there's not more people here already. Yeah,
it was. It's a disappointing showing from Cincinnati, especially with Mox. Like, you think you'd get more of a crowd with a hometown guy, and it kind of makes you wonder with last week's number and now this week's number, like, do they need to start running smaller arenas to kind of minimize this look?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely begs the question. I know you said that Indy was like 2,500 people or something like that last week, and I think for some reason I thought, okay, you might get some of that spillover crowd from last week that may not have gotten to go, that may have come to Cincinnati just to see Mox, because we expect a different atmosphere when it's a Mox show in Cincinnati. But yeah, I mean, and I looked it up again. Heritage Bank, that particular arena, has a capacity of 17,556. And less than 1,500 people showed up. That is just,
and we talked about it. Like, what do you think that issue is? And I think it's just Wednesday night, where Monday night has become such a staple in wrestling, and people go to that. Friday night, it's going into the weekend. Saturday night, I'm sure Collision numbers look fine because it's a Saturday night. Like, Wednesday is just a tough day to go to a wrestling. I mean, I was, especially to do both, like Dynamite and Rampage, I was exhausted. I know you were exhausted. It was a lot. And then, waking up today, going to work, I was dead. I regret nothing because I love wrestling, but it's there was a lot of kids at the show, and we saw kind of a mass exodus when they were moving over to Rampage, and I'm sure a lot of that was parents getting out with their kids, and it's just an interesting dynamic. And I want to see if maybe they start running smaller arenas moving forward until they kind of get past this dip and then kind of move back up to where they were.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I was genuinely very surprised to see that was the attendance. I mean, that the majority of the hard cam side of that bowl of the arena was just empty, scattered, and it's unfortunate, man. I mean, they're riding the momentum of the largest wrestling crowd in the history of professional wrestling, maybe knowing what we know. Yeah. And we're going to come back to that too in this episode, but there was a lot to kind of break down here. And I mean, I enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed the show. I had a great time. There's always something different about it when it's live, but it definitely sucks that, the attendance wasn't as good as their previous shows in Cincinnati definitely have been. I mean, I think I've been to just about every AEW show in Cincinnati, and that was probably the most sparsely attended one that I've seen.
Yeah, it's disappointing because we want wrestling to come to Cincinnati so much, and now they have a hometown guy in Moxley, and we want him to come. And does this deter them from coming in the future? I don't know. I hope not. But hopefully moving forward. I don't know if it's just like inflation or whatever it may be. Like stuff costs a lot. I don't know what it is. But hopefully moving forward, there's a better showing next time.
Yeah, seriously. Speaking of attendance figures,
oops.
It's been reported that the number that was announced as far as the official all-in attendance was a little bit higher than it actually was. And according to the local government in the UK, it was a little over 72,000, I think that it was, based on just turnstile, who actually physically was checked into the stadium, more or less. Has something like this happened, bud?
So the number that they said, that was the amount of tickets sold.
81,035.
But the turnstile was the 71,000. So they can still claim they sold the most number of tickets.
Sure.
But they were talking crazy amount of most paid attendance, 81,000, 81,000, 81,000. In the grand scheme of things, I don't really care what the attendance figure is. I mean, I don't get up in, like ratings. I don't care about like attendance figures. I don't doesn't do anything for me. I just want good wrestling. And yes, it might have been less than what they said, but they made a lot of money, and they're going back there next year, and it was good for wrestling. So do we really need to get caught up in actually how many people were there? I don't really care.
I've got 2 points to make to that. One, I'm with you as far as not really caring about ratings or what a quarter hour does or what it means for the product as a whole because of that data. I think I would only care about attendance numbers if I'm actually at a show, and it's just like, oh, cool, that's the number that was that there's that. But I would not say that numbers don't matter to a Mr. William Ospreay right now. I would not say that to him. But you can go ahead. Floor is yours if you want to repeat that for him, bruv.
Yeah, he got a tattoo with the attendance number on there, and he's not too happy about that right now because
not at all.
He does. I don't know if he has tattoos besides that, and his mom was upset that he got the tattoo, and now the number is wrong.
Bum 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 bum.
Do you think, negotiation-wise, that has any effects on AEW and Will Ospreay? I mean, as silly as that sounds,
does a botched tattoo determine the future of one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet right now?
But does he have like trust issues with AEW now, or is this just like nothing? Is this a nothing story?
I mean, I don't think that Mama Ospreay would call this nothing, so I'm not going to. I don't know. All things considered, probably not. I mean, I think it still comes down to, does he really want a full-time schedule here in the States? I think is still just the biggest thing.
Okay. I mean, as silly as that sounds, there's been sillier things in wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, the past couple years, somebody bit somebody in the locker room. So we had somebody eating muffins at a press conference, destroying the entire company, while the owner of the company sat there and just listened.
That's not just the owner; that's the CEO, general manager, head of creative. Like, he wears many professional hats. Like, that's not
crazier things have happened. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I get it. Yeah. But yeah, overall solid show. We got the Rampage taping as well. I don't really want to get into much else other than kind of the big thing that we saw at the end. And
Jeff Jarrett.
It's
hey, Satnam Singh is huge.
Yes, he is. Yes,
TV does not do him justice at all.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy for sure. Yeah,
that's for you, Bryce. Jeff Jarrett was there and he was awesome.
He was. Yeah. But yeah, we saw at the end of the very end of the night, Rampage taping, Chris Statlander, Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. If you are
spoilers
wanting to, I was gonna say, if this is a spoiler warning, if you actually want to watch the show tomorrow when it actually airs, I would fast forward for like the next couple of minutes after you see this. But Chris Statlander does retain against Jade Cargill. As we were leaving, headed back up the steps, you look back, you got my attention. So they're doing the respect spot, the hug it out, all of that in the ring. And then not even a few hours later, news breaks. Fightful's reporting that Jade Cargill is reportedly finishing up with AEW and is likely WWE bound. This is, I mean, we've seen talent go back and forth over the last 4 or 5 years, but this is seismic, I think.
It's a big one. It's
at least for the women's division. I mean, because we saw. I mean, obviously Cody. Nothing will change that. But this is for the women's division. This is a major coup if this is true.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a big signing if WWE gets her. I think it would be the second biggest jump that we've seen for AEW to WWE wise.
Yeah.
Cody obviously is the biggest because of how he helped create the whole company.
Yeah.
But Jade moving over is someone that they were building as kind of a next superstar. I mean, Cody brought her in. I think this would be, and I think you summed it up pretty well. This would be a seismic jump for WWE to sign her. And I can't wait till she feuds with Nia Jax.
Tell me how you really feel, bud. Tell me how you really feel. It's see, okay, and yes, Nia Jax is still reportedly signed. I mean, she's on the roster too. But hey, guess what? If this is true, they still get to bring in Jade. So it's like, hey,
much better
depth. Yeah,
much better.
Just
there's a great number of feuds that I would like to see with Jade in the WWE. Bianca, Rhea, I mean Raquel, I think would be a fun, hoss fight.
Yeah.
It would be a big deal. And I think she would come in and they would make it a big deal.
Yeah.
When she's
main roster ready. There's no reason to pop through NXT. I don't think that she needs to go to NXT.
So with how they're doing stuff on NXT, I wouldn't be mad. Because we're seeing a lot of main roster talent come to NXT. I wouldn't be mad at it. She comes in, destroys a couple other girls, and then jumps up. I don't need to waste my time down here. I've already taken care of this, that kind of thing to kind of get, because again, we watch everything. Not everybody watches everything. So if you kind of get her familiar with NXT and kind of get her familiar with how the WWE wrestling is, that might be beneficial. Kind of like what they're doing with Dom. Because say what you want, she's still 2-3 years in.
Yeah.
She's still pretty green. She's gotten better for sure, but I think, it wouldn't, I don't think it would hurt her character if she goes to NXT for a minute and just kind of wipes the division and then moves up. I don't think it would hurt. And I don't think it would hurt in the eyes of audience members either, because they could see, oh, someone's really, really dominant down in NXT, move her up to the main roster. It gets a big win over Becky Lynch. I don't know. Maybe she takes the title off of Becky Lynch. I don't know.
Also an intriguing possibility. I mean, and I think that's I think a lot of why I am so staunchly pro main roster now is, I mean, think about how we started our show this week talking about Nia Jax and needing depth in the women's division as a whole. And here we are with a chance to, I mean, even if the average WWE fan does not watch AEW, she's still got a look that, okay, I mean, like I said, I think that she's main roster ready. That doesn't mean that you necessarily need to throw her into, 10, 15, 20-minute mat classics right away or anything like that. You can still take the approach that AEW has taken with her to get her accustomed to the WWE style of professional wrestling storytelling. But, we started this conversation earlier this week about, trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between talent that is just not pushed properly to create credible singles challengers for these world championships and your tag team championships, just because, whatever. Yeah, exactly. But that, I mean, here's somebody that, again, feasibly is ready to go right now. I mean, she doesn't necessarily need to be on NXT in order to make her name down there. I don't see why she can't just make herself a part of the fray, because we also are of a time, remember there used to be a time where there was no NXT. They just kind of showed up, whether they were ready or not, and they debuted on TV. I think that she'd fall in this category and be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I would agree. I think either way, it's going to be a big signing. She also has mainstream appeal, where I think she could do the red carpets. I think she could do the charity events. Like, she has that look to her where she has it. She does.
Yeah.
And like, I could just see it now with her and Cody doing a big press conference, and she looks like she belongs. And I don't think that's, a far stretch in what I'm saying that I think she'd come in and be a major star right away.
Yeah. And you pointed this out. Bianca and Jade Cargill, you can do tag team, you can do singles run with the two of them. Sky's the limit. That is just, yeah.
That, I mean, you want to establish your tag champions. There you go. Just have those two run the division.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be great. Speaking of running things, though.
You know I don't run.
We should really work on that. I don't either, but yeah. Anyway, the Shield are officially on top of the world of professional wrestling right now. The PWI 500 top 10 list has been released today. Seth Rollins coming in at number 1. Roman Reigns, we acknowledge him at number 2. Jon Moxley bringing it home with number 3. What do you think about these rankings, man?
Yeah, it's I'll go quickly through the top 10. Yeah, Rollins, Reigns, Moxley, of course. Gunther, number 4, well deserved. He has had a hell of a year. Vikingo, number 5. It was a little surprising, but I know they go all around the world. MJF, who again deserving, definitely
very much so.
should be in that list. I think I would switch him and Vikingo, just because.
Sure.
I think MJF is on a bigger platform. Okada, Orange Cassidy, which fantastic. He had a great run with that title.
Yeah.
Josh
I think
Alexander,
he's right where he needs to be there on that list.
Yeah, I definitely deserves to be in the top 10 after his year. Josh Alexander, who helped kind of carry Impact for a while, and then Cody Rhodes rounding out the top 10. 2 names that are kind of surprising omissions in the top 10 are Kenny Omega.
I was going to guess.
Go ahead and do the other one.
Will.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Will not in that top 10.
Yeah. I mean, 3 legit match of the year contenders with Kenny Omega. I mean, Kenny is just otherworldly on his own. I think that actually I will take back what I said about Orange Cassidy. I would probably swap Cody and Orange Cassidy. I know that Orange Cassidy has the international championship reign that has kind of catapulted him into this new level of essentially superstardom for AEW. But Cody Rhodes coming back from the pec tear, Great Royal Rumble run, the WrestleMania program was great up until the loss, and then masterpieces with Brock Lesnar. Do you think that because there has been such a slow follow-up after SummerSlam that might affect where he fell on this list?
I think it affects where he fell on the list because you got to remember in that Brock Lesnar feud, Brock went away for a month or so and he kind of had a throwaway feud with Dominic. So I think that kind of hurt him. I think his use definitely after SummerSlam is hurt. I just don't know if, like, looking at the list, like, I don't know if I'd move him up. He hasn't held a title. He's kind of carried Raw, but he really hasn't. He's been a major focus on Raw, but like Seth Rollins has carried Raw. Gunther carried SmackDown for a while and now is doing very, very well on Raw. And Cody's kind of sitting there third at Raw in the pecking order for me right now, behind Rollins and Gunther. So I wouldn't switch because I really do think Orange Cassidy had one of the best years in wrestling because of how we look at him now. Either way, we're going to look at Cody as a main eventer. Orange Cassidy leveled up so much over this year that I think he's right where he needs to be on that list.
Okay. All right. I like it. Now, as far as we're just going to look at the Shield here.
Yeah.
Do you think that that order is appropriate for what they've done this year?
That is a tough question.
Yeah.
If it was me, I think I would go Rollins, Moxley, Reigns.
Okay.
Just because of the inactivity of Reigns.
Okay.
I think Reigns has provided some very, very big moments, but in terms of what you mean for the company, like Jon Moxley is the guy in AEW. Like he is I think he's the face of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. Yeah,
at least for me, when you say AEW, Moxley's the first name I think of because he's always there. And whenever they needed him, like when Punk got hurt, he was there. When Punk got suspended, he was there. When they need anything, just call Jon Moxley.
yeah.
And I think the consistency of Jon Moxley is kind of overshadowed what Roman did because yes, Roman has the greatest title reign in modern day and blah 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 blah, but he's not on the show as much and he's not wrestling as much. And I think that you have to give that to Moxley, that he's there almost every week doing something, bleeding for the company most nights,
literally.
but like he's always there. And that's why I think Rollins is number one, is because he's consistently always there.
Yeah, he was the workhorse. Yeah,
I would put Moxley number 2, Reigns 3.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I think that I would give. I think that I would keep it the way that it is. I know that Reigns has transitioned to legacy status, but at the same time, over 1,000 days as world champion. I mean, that is such a huge accomplishment and a huge part of, I think, why he's up there, where he is on this list. So while, yes, the fan in me appreciates Rollins and Mox just being everywhere and all things at once to people, that whole world, I mean, that's his entire WrestleMania program, and basically his entire 2023 has been built upon getting to that benchmark. And the fact that he has not only gotten there, but he's eclipsed it, and there is no sign of him losing anytime soon. I think that's appropriate there.
I also think it's pretty cool that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different companies represented in the top 10.
That's very cool. Very
that
cool.
shows you how cool wrestling is right now and how good it is that it's not dominated by WWE like it usually is, or it's not, a Japanese wrestler kind of skewed. Because say what you want about the PWI, but it is what it is.
It's the metric we have. Like it just is.
But it's really cool to see 5 different companies represented, and kind of shows you how far wrestling has come, that we have all this competition and all these great wrestlers that don't have to be in one company to make a big deal.
Could not agree more. I think that's I think you hit the nail on the head there. And it's certainly the most diverse top 10 list I've seen in a very long time. So, it can only get better from here, especially now that we are starting to see, the UFC WWE merger has completed, and I mean, it just seems like we're in store for a lot of fun stuff.
That creepy video, or that creepy picture of Vince. I love that picture of Vince.
It's just, I mean, there's your Bond villain right there. That's just
that guy is scary. I'm trying to see if I can see the full list. Do you know when the first woman showed up?
I did have just a second. I did have this up on my.
I also see that Trish Adora was 82.
Not mad at it. I like it.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. Hopefully we are hopefully going to see her in Dayton here soon.
I can't wait for that.
Just as we are a Brian Cage pod, we are also a Trish Adora pod.
Yeah, we are. As well as a Veer pod, even though he forgets that. I remind him of that.
I'm starting to wane on the Veer. Doesn't seem like the company's behind him.
Let's see. For the record, I think that I'm at 60 and I'm not seeing any women's talent just yet.
So, that kind of sums it up, like right there. Like we're going top 60 and we don't see any women. Like that's the only thing that I think we need to see more of is more representation of the women, because Hell, Tiffany and Becky just main evented NXT, and it was their best rating in 3 years.
Yeah,
like there's something there, and there's a market for it, but
for sure.
The
man equals
neither company's
ratings.
pushing it. So hopefully we see more
Get
of
it
it.
together, people.
Maybe Jade coming in kind of boosts that division a lot more, and maybe that has AEW kind of step up their game and go, all right, we lost a big one, and then maybe Mercedes comes in and kind of boosts that division as well.
And the thing is, I think if all things considered, let's say it does turn out that way, where Jade does leave, signs with WWE, and that's right as Mercedes comes into the door, that's a very natural, I think, transition into maybe a new era of how they may want to present storytelling. Because, think about the last few years, we are seeing a lot of AEW originals whose contracts just have not been renewed, and they have just an entire different direction as far as how they want to present their creative. Bringing in somebody like Mercedes does kind of cushion that blow a little bit of losing a Jade Cargill, because I think the one thing that you and I can fairly, readily agree upon consistently is we would have liked to have seen more out of Jade in the main event scene in the women's division as far as competing for the women's world championship. There's no questions about that with Mercedes here. So, realistically, if you do want to debut her and she, goes after women's world and has that match with Saraya and all, that's great. But it also isn't out of the realm of possibility that you plug her into the TBS division either, because she'll run that too.
Yeah. And like Statlander and Jade had a really, really good match last night.
I apologize. So there actually is one name that I don't know why I didn't see her name. She was actually 15.
Oh, okay.
Masha Slamovich.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So good. Like there's somebody in the top 15.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of the women's names in there, but good. That's positive news.
Very much so. Yeah.
She wrestles in Impact.
Impact. I've seen her in. She was in. I think it was Tournament of Death or Tournament of Survival this summer too. Had some pretty cool stuff that she did. So yeah,
not in the big two.
Yeah, not in the big two. But I mean, she had, from the matches I've seen her in this. I mean, she had a great 2023, at least summer anyway.
One more thing, and I think we can head out here. Did you see that Dina Peraza, her contract is expiring in December?
I did see that. So yeah, that's another huge name. They could also jumpstart that women division. And guess what? It means that she's reunited with Chelsea Green, permanent tag team partner, on that division. I mean, come on. If they got it right with Chelsea, they'll get it right with Deonna.
They did. And what gives me pause on that is Jordan Grace also, her contract was up, and she was a free agent for a little while, and neither of the big two jumped on, and she ended up re-signing with Impact. Do you see that with Deonna?
I think it remains. I mean, especially now that this merger is complete, I think that we'll see something different here, because all things told, they probably were doing a hiring freeze once this was, announced that was going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, yes, it was officially announced in April, but that doesn't mean that those conversations happened late March to make this deal, come together. So, I would imagine now that the merger is complete, once they've kind of, reshaped their corporate structure and cleaned all that stuff up on the business end, I do think that we're going to start to see a larger interest in wanting to procure more talent, especially with the grandiose plans that they might have to include WWE and UFC and part of a super package of events to trot out and sell to cities for them to bid on and pay to go see. So I think that money's going to start flowing. I mean, these are big media properties, big sports entities, and now they're under the same umbrella. I think that that's going to get a lot of attention, a lot of dollars, and I think that everybody's going to be ready to restock their war chest of talent.
Okay. Last thing, and then we can go. I promise.
Let's do it.
When do you think that we see the cuts? Because they're coming. Anytime two companies merge, there are always cuts, and they kind of said it without saying it in their press conference that both UFC and WWE are going to have cuts soon. When do you think we see that?
As far as the office, sooner than later for sure. I think that the majority of these cuts will be on the WWE side.
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not so ready to guess on cuts of talent just yet.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of that is because, again, while yes, Vince knows wrestling, this is still
Kinda.
Yeah. Okay, while Ari is leaving the wrestling side of things to Vince and co., I think that if there is the opportunity to just be able to say, hey, there's all of this talent in-house under our umbrella, let's do something with it, and especially because now that there seems to be an easier opportunity now more than ever before for somebody to make a run from or jump from WWE to UFC or vice versa to try to make that happen. I mean, even there's a story I read today, even Cameron Grimes wants a UFC fight. Like, I think that they'll find ways to incorporate people. I know. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger.
He's just get kicked straight to the moon.
We have fun. But yeah, I mean, I since you want me to guess, September now.
Yeah, you think that
I'll say in the next 60 days.
Okay,
I'll say 60 days.
It's fair.
I think that's appropriate time. Merger's complete. Let them. They're going to do the office stuff first. That's kind of also already been made clear that that's what's been going on. So we'll start there, and then I think talent will be kind of second on the priority here. But it's not like they really need to with all the money that they're making. I mean, even when we go to Fastlane next month, it'll probably be the most successful Fastlane of all time.
Yeah, probably. They always say that. There was 81,000 people there.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
Shout out to the crowd last night for the best chant I've heard at a wrestling show. Use the baby.
Yes.
Only in wrestling, folks. Only in wrestling.
Also, how could we have forgotten to mention it was Taz Appreciation Night?
It was. That was
how great was that? That was awesome.
Every commercial break, the Dapper Yapper had us cheering for Taz, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was effortless. It was effortless, and I mean, shout out to and we were saying this last night, dude. He's just living his best life now. He's got the coolest job in the world, and you can tell that he's just thrilled with what he does. So, we should all be so lucky.
Again, it is great to have more than one company.
Yes, it's okay to like both.
We went to AEW last night. We're going to Fastlane in a couple weeks. It's okay to like both.
It's what we do.
Yep, it is.
Except for you, technology.
We recovered well. I will say that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we should call it, I think this is a best of 3 series because, yes, technology very clearly beat us on episode 31 31 and a half. And then episode technically 32 and a third. So if you take that 31 and a half times this 32 and a third here, what does that mean? That means that there's
a technology. You're going down. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Keep your hands off our stream, you bastard.
And with that.
Yes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode and watching this episode. Remember to hit that QR code, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know what we've got going on. We always have some cool stuff in the works. We're going to be doing our Fastlane prediction show. The Frat Daddy Bryce Cannon is going to be joining us for that in a couple of weeks. But just stick around for the ride. Follow us on social media. If you got questions for us, DM us, add us. Just be cool, be kind. We're all here to enjoy wrestling at the end of the day. So, Podcast Dad, as always, it's great to see you, my friend. And I'm sure that we'll be catching up soon. Any final words for our friends at home?
Yeah, don't slide into my DMs.
Yeah, don't. No.
No, thanks.
It's fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. On that note, I think we're really done. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching to the Wrestling Junkies podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon.